Good evening. Today we are going to speak about very interesting topic, evaluation in the problem-based learning. And when it comes to evaluation, it's always very important topic and very crucial topic in educational world. And this is the topic that are the most accountable of all the teachers and all the lecturers and any kind of educators. They are really concerned with the evaluation process in education. Evaluation in education or work process is important because it gives the sign of recognition for learners or workers. It promotes workers or learners' self-esteem, confidence, competence, self-growth, and motivation. That's why it's important to take it seriously into account when you are evaluating other person, because it concerns a lot of things related to his or her motivational self-esteem system. And of course, when students evaluated really well, you can hear very positive different feedbacks from them. Perhaps you could heard some things like saying that I have finished my school with a red diploma, or I have finished this semester with a 10 points across the different disciplines, or I have passed the best exam compared to my classmates. So you see that evaluation is something that brings to the person, to the learner, pride. It gives confidence, self-esteem. It promotes self-growth and motivation. That's why evaluation issues should be taken really very seriously into account while you are evaluating other person. So this is something really important. By evaluating, you provide self-confidence and motivation to the learners. You promote his or her self-esteem. But not only. By evaluating other person, you provide an open opportunity for person to open better university. You open opportunity for person to get better work position. That's why evaluation it's really very matters, but especially evaluation really matters in the process of formal education, when you are getting formal recognition and competence in the educational process. And when it comes to evaluation issues, it's the biggest headache for every teacher or for every lecturer. How to evaluate pupils objectively, and what kind of criteria should be used in the evaluation process. So this is really important and the most difficult questions to consider. And when it comes to evaluation, usually teachers in the secondary school or lecturers in universities tend to stay on the safe side. That's why they are trying to evaluate more like knowledge or particular skills in the process, and maybe they less evaluating learners' social abilities. So during examination or testing, they give open questions for examinations, or they giving knowledge tests. In the rarer cases, they give case analysis, and even more rare cases, they give problem situation. So most of teachers and lecturers tend to stay better on the safe side and try to give knowledge testing or open questions for knowledge, for testing of person's knowledge, because they can be objectively measured. You're giving a certain question and you are looking for the standard answers, and of course answers are standardized. So you see that evaluation issues in formal education vindicate social dimension in education. Social abilities and socialization is not evaluated in formal education as an educational object. So really it brings a lot of problems when you are trying to initiate something new in educational process. If you want to use, for instance, innovative learning methods and strategies that applies to different socialization methods and socialization strategies, because socialization in education is really very important, then brings a lot of big issues in evaluation. How to evaluate a person's social abilities in the process, in addition to learning results. Indeed, learning and socialization process are really very synchronically connected in nowadays education. And indeed, when I giving some lecturing in the problem-based learning process, and when we're doing some problem-based learning tasks, we do usually 4 kinds of tasks. The first task is learning object structuring or problem structuring. Other task is information research. The third task is strategies generation, and the fourth task is the reflection. So 4 major tasks in the problem-based learning that are implemented major in groups, and suddenly we have the new problem: how evaluate group as the whole organism, and how evaluate separate learner in the group. So you see that there even could be said that there are some diversified evaluation strategy. One evaluation strategy for the whole group as a unit, and the other evaluation strategy for each of the member of the group. So you see that evaluation process in the problem-based learning is even more complicated. So indeed, what is evaluated in the problem-based learning? So I could clearly say that the major objects of evaluation in the problem-based learning are processual skills of the learners and the results of the activity. They should demonstrate processual skills, certain processual skills, and implement certain activities in the process. And of course, the major criteria for evaluation major are completeness of the task in the group in the quantitative and qualitative manner. Quantitative and qualitative completeness. So this quantitative and qualitative completeness applies to the learning object structuring, when they are answering the different structuring questions, and they are creating problem schema, and they are defining learning objects. When they are implementing information search, when they are distributing the task among the learners, when they are doing information search itself, I usually evaluate how many information resources they searched, what kind of information they have found, the quality of information, and how information was systemized. Was it systemized in the right order? Was it systemized completely? So this is something that what is important to take into account: quantitative and qualitative criteria for implementing of task. And also in the third phase of learning, when they are generating strategies, I'm trying to evaluate how they created one or another strategy, problem-solving strategy in their problem-based learning process. Of course, it must be complete. It must reflect the found information in information resources, and it must be justified. So you see that those criteria are more like the qualitative criteria more than the quantitative. And finally, reflections are made by reflecting their own thoughts in the process and reflecting all the group work, how it went, was there solved all the problems in the process, and how the complete tasks were implemented, and how the final results reached successfully. And of course, there are certain advantages and disadvantages of such kind of the strategies and evaluation strategies in those kind of educational strategies like problem-based learning. And of course, PBL students better retain different kind of knowledge because of contextual learning style in problem-based learning. So you see that the scientists noticed that they have better retention of knowledge processes comparing to traditional students that are taught in the traditional classes. But of course, disadvantage of such evaluation and such a strategy, learning strategy, that it's very complicated, very complex evaluation process that requires more effort and more educational pedagogical stuff. And of course, problem-based learning gives more privileges and more attention, more focus on formative evaluation compared to summative evaluation. Summative evaluation in the problem-based learning is implemented at the final educational stages, summing up the results of the learning that comes from attending of certain problem-based learning seminars, comes from the observation results when the groups are working, from their reflection forms, from the cognitive mentors' feedbacks, group of observation journals, and so on. Also, beside the qualitative evaluation, tests can be given to PBL students as well, but they are more rare. The most important in the problem-based learning is qualitative evaluation, and it goes forward comparing to the quantitative evaluation. So this is something important to remember, that problem-based learning, within problem-based learning, teachers and facilitators apply more qualitative educational and evaluation strategies.